Hello, friends. I saw a bumper sticker once that gave me a little chuckle, and it said, very simply, gravity. It's not just a good idea, it's the law. And this was in reference to, or sort of part of why it was funny, was that it was a paraphrase or a kind of an extrapolation of a broader theme that had happened probably in the 1980s, when maybe even the 70s, when seat belts were starting to be worn and recommended to be worn, and even various states began passing laws requiring that people wear seat belts when they're in the car, when they're driving in the car. And so the signs, and the promotion around that whole initiative said seat belts, not just a good idea, it's the law. And so, gravity, not just a good idea, it's the law. Well, the other day I was practicing the energization exercises, which we do often here, almost every day. And in doing them, I was outside and I was looking across the yard, and I happened to spy something. There's a little gazebo in the garden near our apartment here in and onto Sacramento. We call the garden Babaji Garden because there's a beautiful Babaji Murti there. But we have a little pavilion which we have called the Swami Kriyananda Pavilion in honor of Crystal Hermitage and the gazebo there, but particularly in honor of Swamiji, obviously, and his life and his influence. But anyway, I was looking at that little gazebo and I spotted an Easter egg. There, we had an Easter egg hunt for the kids here in the Babaji Garden. And the kids are like vacuum cleaners when it comes to finding the little treasures, the little Easter eggs and the chocolates and toys and whatever is hidden that the Easter Bunny hides around the Babaji Garden. And but they missed one. And this one was in the gazebo, but it was up. It was up at eye level to me. And the kids who were going, and it was set in a clever place. Now, it was not invisible, because I saw it from, I want to say 30, 35 feet away. So a kid, even smaller of stature than me, could have seen it looking from the right angle, and looking up is my point. Look up. And I say all this because that act of looking up is sort of part and parcel of our lives in these bodies and on this earth. There is a saying that this is part of the Indian tradition, that even the gods desire a human birth. And you may sort of scratch your head a little around that one, as I have, because why? You come into this world, and granted, when the weather's beautiful and it's spring like it is now, everything is lovely, and the flowers are blooming, it's gorgeous, the weather is salubrious, it's all very pleasant. However, there is inevitable struggle in this world, and it starts with birth, and as far as we can see visibly, it ends with death. But that struggle is part of the muscular strength that we gain from being in this world, and that is one of the reasons why the gods desire it. And it struck me that gravity is a big part of why it's important to be in the body. And there was recently an astronaut, Scott Kelly, and his twin brother, Mark Kelly, were both at different times in their career on the space station. But one of them spent a year, I believe it was Scott Kelly, spent a year up there. And because they're identical twins, they were able to check changes to DNA, changes to the body. And the one who spent a year up there was exercising 2 hours a day to maintain muscle mass, to maintain cardiovascular health, etc. And yet, after a year of being up on the space station in zero gravity, his heart had become smaller. And it's an interesting, and when he returned to Earth, his heart regained its normal size, so it's not like this was a permanent damage. But it was interesting to reflect that being in zero gravity and having sort of less resistance, less to push against, or really in a sense nothing to push against, except whatever they could kind of conjure up by way of exercise. If they're going to run on a treadmill, they have to have a sort of a belt around their waist to keep themselves from floating away off the thing. So it has to pull them down to sort of hold them in order to do that exercise. And he was doing that for 2 hours a day and other kinds of exercise as well. But even still, it wasn't enough to kind of keep his heart in the shape that it was in this world. And I say all that because it struck me after reading the article that that is one of the reasons why the gods desire birth in this world, is because in the astral world there isn't gravity in the same kind of way. There isn't, the way I've heard it described is there isn't the incentive to grow or the need to grow in the same way as there is here. The astral world is many things. It's beautiful, it's colorful, it's glorious, it's deeply satisfying on many levels, especially if the consciousness that we bring to it is an elevated consciousness, a more worldly consciousness, a darker, more evil consciousness will be stuck in its own space, in its own awareness, and necessarily be very uncomfortable to live in and live with. Hence, the descriptions of hell and the descriptions of heaven and how diverse they are, and of course they really are. But that concept that this place is desirable is a fascinating one because we don't always think so. Sometimes this world is just a royal pain in the neck. And, we've been through a year plus of pandemic and, different states around America are having resurging infection rates, and there's a lot of challenge going on. And yet I take comfort from the fact that we are strong because we push against something. We push against the duality, against the sense of limitation in ourselves in order to grow. And that, friends, is a great, great blessing. So let us look up from time to time, because sometimes there's an Easter egg hiding in the gazebo of our lives. And let us also appreciate the blessing of gravity. It's true that we do not fall up a mountain. We do not fall to the top of a mountain unless we fall out of a helicopter or something. But in order to climb to the top of a mountain, we have to actually climb step by step by step. And yes, it is a challenge, and no, it's not always fun. I can say from some personal experience, not that I've climbed these extreme mountains like Everest, but I have done a little bit. And I can say that climbing at high elevation, and in my own experience, high elevation is merely 14,000 feet. It's not 20 or 25 or 29 like Mount Everest, 1,000 feet. even there, if you're not in shape for it, putting one foot in front of the other and going up, even a relatively modest incline, is extremely strenuous. And yet, there are great blessings to be gained from it. So let us climb the mountain of spiritual potential, and as we do so, appreciate the role that gravity plays in it, because tremendous strength is to be gained from that process. God bless you.